Bottom line up front, if you care about 0 to 60 times, then this isn't the car for you. But if you care about spending the least amount of money for all of your driving needs, then this might just be up your alley. Enter the first ever 2020 Toyota Corolla Hybrid. And in this video, I'll talk about the things I like and dislike about Toyota's newest, cheapest hybrid. First, let's start out with my likes, and my first like is the price. This one starts at $23,100. That's $1,100 cheaper than the Toyota Prius, or $3,500 more expensive compared to the base Toyota Corolla. Since there's only one trim, the LE, the pricing is going to be pretty much at this level depending on what options you tack on. At this price point, it places it squarely in the small but competitive compact hybrid segment, so you can expect to shop this against the Honda Insight and the Hyundai Ioniq. The total operating costs is also low because the mileage is very high. This is rated at 52 miles per gallon combined. So if you drive about 15,000 miles a year, say $3 a gallon, then you're going to be spending about $865 a year on gas. Let's do a little bit more math. If you get the base Corolla, which gets you 32 miles per gallon, you'll pay an additional $540 a year, which means that it'll take 6.5 years before you break even, meaning after 6.5 years it'll be cheaper to just buy the hybrid compared to the base Corolla. So is the hybrid premium really worth it? Well, there's a lot of factors involved, but it really depends on how many miles you're driving in a year and also the cost of gas. But there's other factors involved as well, like insurance and also maintenance. In the maintenance front, just remember that this still has a gasoline engine, so your maintenance is going to be about the same, just like any other gasoline cars. You still have to do your fluid changes. But you can expect your brakes to last a little bit longer because the hybrid has an electric motor. So normally when you're slowing down, all of that excess kinetic energy is going to be turned into heat via the brakes to slow you down. But since this has an electric motor, it'll take that kinetic energy, turn it into more juice for the batteries, and it'll save your brake pads a little bit more. The next thing I like about this car is the hybrid performance. This thing has a 1.8 liter 4-cylinder engine and a 1.3 kilowatt hour battery. All of that gets you 121 horsepower and 105 pound-feet of torque. And this weighs 2,850 pounds. That's actually 200 pounds lighter than the base Corolla. So while the power to weight ratio is still, well, not very good, but it could have been a lot worse. Of course, you get great gas mileage. This thing gets 53 city, 52 highway, and 52 combined. That's comparable to the Honda Insight, but it's a little bit lower compared to the Hyundai Ioniq's 58 combined miles per gallon. Now, Toyota has been at the hybrid game the longest, and I think this all-new Corolla hybrid is their most refined version yet. Switching between battery to engine power or both is very seamless and unnoticeable to the driver. The only way to tell is if you're looking at the power generation display, showing where the power is coming from. This display, by the way, is the gamification of driving in a good economical sense. It encourages you to drive more efficiently rather than mashing on the pedal like a madman. And if you do drive efficiently, there is an 11.4 gallon tank in this car, which means that at maximum miles per gallon, you could almost make it all the way through the width of Texas. In terms of the transmission, this thing's just okay. This has an eCVT, which means that it's an electronically controlled, continuously variable transmission. Don't confuse this with traditional CVTs, which involve belts and pulleys. Instead, it has a planetary gear set and 2 motor generators. That's basically how Toyota has been able to achieve the hybrid performance and switch between engine to battery or both in a very seamless fashion. The transmission has been perfectly designed for this function, so you can't really manually upshift or downshift or get in the right power band. You can't really do that in this car, so if you're trying to overtake someone on the highway, well, you just have to be a more patient driver, maybe just get behind them. And just like all Toyotas, this thing gets the Toyota Safety Sense 2.0. That means that you get pedestrian pre-collision system, lane departure alert, automatic high beams. And by the way, I really like the look of the LED headlights on this thing because it looks much more luxurious than the price tag suggests. And lastly, this thing has the dynamic radar cruise control, which is always helpful when you're driving anywhere. And I also like the fact that this has Apple CarPlay and Amazon Alexa. Unfortunately, it doesn't have Android Auto, and perhaps this is where we could start discussing my dislikes about this car. It's strange that this doesn't have Android Auto because other Toyota models offer that. That problem is even worse considering that this doesn't have a built-in GPS system. So if you have an Android phone and you want the GPS displayed on this display, then you have to use the Scout GPS link that's available via Entune. The next thing I don't like is that the LE trim is very Spartan. I mean, it feels like you're living inside a basketball in here. There's not a lot of luxurious touch surfaces in here. There's no leather offered. There's no leather steering wheel. There's no heated seats. There's no motorized seat adjustment. Everything's very manual. And of course, that's for a good reason, because that makes the car even cheaper to make and even cheaper to sell. And of course, all of that luxury and amenities just add more weight to this car, which reduces the efficiency. This thing doesn't even have a spare tire, and in its place is a fix-a-flat system. There's also no blind spot monitoring system or rear cross traffic alert in this car. Even though this has all the modern day safety features, it doesn't have what I consider to be one of the best safety features that I feel should be standard in all cars. Additionally, when you're backing up, it doesn't show you the trajectory of the vehicle. It doesn't show you where the wheels are going. I think that's a really nice touch that should be fairly easy to program and implement in these cars. So what is it like to drive this thing? Well, the first thing that's noticeable is that the acceleration isn't very good. And if you step on it, it sounds a bit like a vacuum cleaner. It doesn't sound very pleasant. But from a standstill, it's not that bad because you've got that electric motor. It gives you full torque at 0 RPMs. But at speed, like trying to overtake someone, that's something that's a little bit difficult to do in this car. And you'll be good friends with other Mazda Miata and Subaru BRZ drivers because acceleration is also a tough thing for them. But they'll tell you that acceleration isn't really important. It's how much speed you can carry through the corners. And that's where the handling of this Toyota Corolla actually shines, because this thing is riding on the new global platform, the TNGA. So this means that the Corolla is stiffer compared to the previous generations. And we've driven the hatchback and other Corollas that utilizes this new TNGA, and it's more rigid. It's got a multi-link rear suspension. So it's got the right foundation to make this into a good handling car. And I feel like if you put some stickier tires on this thing, something with a lower profile tire, of course that's going to reduce your gas efficiency, this could potentially be a good autocross car. You'll notice different driving modes in this car. You have 3 different driving modes. You've got Power, you've got Eco, and then you also have EV mode. So with Power, that means that you're going to be drawing more power from the batteries more often, so you can expect your efficiency to go down. And under Eco mode, that means that you're going to try and maximize efficiency. And what that means is that the gas pedal is pretty much useless. And then you have EV mode, which is unavailable at the speeds that I'm driving at. You have to stay within 25 miles per hour. And under EV mode, it's basically all that it says is you're purely using the electric power from the battery. And one thing to note when you're driving in EV mode or when the engine is off, when you're just hunting for a parking spot or just driving where there's a lot of pedestrians, just be aware that your car is very silent because the engine isn't on. So you just have to drive carefully because the pedestrians may not be aware that you're there. And then one thing to notice too in the transmission is that you'll find the letter B underneath the D gear. Now, that's usually where you find the low gear settings for your automatic transmissions, and that's really no different here. The B stands for braking or engine braking. Now, that's basically all it is just a low gear setting. It's not meant to be used to preserve or harvest more energy when you're going downhill. This is really just for when you're driving downhill for a very long time so that you could save your brakes. Would this make for a good hybrid or first hybrid car purchase? Absolutely. Toyota has been in the hybrid game the longest, and I believe that this iteration of their hybrid is their finest yet. And what's even better is that they've extended the battery warranty from 8 years and 100,000 miles to 10 years and 150,000 miles. So the peace of mind for the battery lasting for basically the life of the vehicle is there. So is this a good car in general? Well, that really depends on who you are and how many miles you're driving. For example, if you're a student or if you don't have a lot of money to spend on a car, or maybe you don't even drive a lot in a year, then this isn't really a good car to purchase because the break-even point compared to buying a traditional gasoline engine version of the Corolla is about 6.5 years if you only drive 15,000 miles a year and gas is $3 a gallon. Of course, there's a lot of factors in play for that specific example, but if you do drive a lot in a year, then this makes a really strong case for your hard-earned dollars. But the one downside is that if you do drive a lot, then this isn't really a very pleasant car to be in for a very long time. Again, there's not a lot of extra features in here. The seats are just okay, there's no heated seats, but I'm sure all those extra options will be remedied in a future trim, maybe in 2021 for the Toyota Corolla hybrid lineup. So there you have it, that's my review of the 2020 Toyota Corolla first ever hybrid. Please let me know what you think about this car in the comments below. If you like this video, please consider hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe, and also hitting that notification bell so you can get notified anytime we make a new video. There's a lot of stuff going on the Shifting Lanes channel, and I invite you to check out all the videos that we have in the links down below. My name is Hanson. This has been the 2020 Toyota Corolla Hybrid, and I'll see you next time.